YouTube, how's it going? The Goat House is back, and today I got my Steelers off-season rebuild going through free agency and the NFL draft, playing GM for the Steelers, but every single team. So plenty of these videos on the channel, but if you don't see your team yet, it's coming. Don't worry, we're doing every single team. Full off-season coverage here on the channel, a lot more to come. Anything you can think of, we got you covered. We got you covered with breaking news and takeaways on that news and everything football related on the Twitter. So check out the Twitter. You see underneath me, walkthemock.com. It's the very best mock draft simulator out there. You can play with your friends. You can play with, or I guess against, other users. So very cool. You can make trades. So there's always mock drafts going on there. On that site. So pretty cool. Use Goat House as your code for 20% off. It's only $5 a month, and then you add on the 20% code, or you can do a yearly subscription. It's very cool. Check it out. We'll pin a link in the comments for that and anything that you need. Please subscribe to the channel. Like I said, non-stop content here. Before we get on to that, here's our Twitter. Make sure you follow that. Just constant talk here. And then I'll pin a link in the comments for this. It's like a cheat sheet. Live cap space projections by myself, and with potential cuts, predicted cuts, how much space that could save. So it kind of gives you an idea. You click this link here, it brings you to restructures created by myself as well. So pretty cool. Link in the comments for that towards the bottom there. But yeah, the Steelers are in a rough situation. Negative $7.7 million. It's around that range. We don't have a set team salary cap yet, so they're gonna have to go to work because they have some needs as well. Tough cut, Joe Hayden, longtime veteran, maybe declining a little bit, but he still can play. But $12.6 million on the line here. You can potentially save, and a team that needs to clear space to be able to contend, you can clear $12.6 million. So I'm going to take that up. I'm going to take that shot there. With this team, with this defense, you're going to win because of your pass rush, your front seven mainly. That's where you're going to win. Those guys are going to make the cornerbacks' jobs easier. Cornerbacks, they're going to have an easier time in this scheme, and you shouldn't have to pay that. You shouldn't have to surrender $12.6 million, and he's really not playing up to that level anyways. So to me, it's a no-brainer, even though it's tough to cut a guy like Joe Hayden. We'll see if they do it. It'd be kind of head-scratching if they don't, in my opinion. Eric Ebron was a tough one because now you're creating a hole at tight end. He was pretty productive. They used him a bit, too many drops, but I need the space. I originally went in here and did this, and I didn't have Ebron in there, but I'm realizing we need the space. So $6 million, cut him. Restructure Ben Roethlisberger. It was announced very recently, yesterday actually, that he will be back. They will work on a contract restructure. We don't really know if that'll be a pay cut or an actual restructure in some way. You can't perform a simple restructure to his contract because this is his last year of his contract. So if it is a restructure, they're either going to have to extend him or basically the same thing, create void years, basically extend him years where he's not going to be playing, but they're paying him those years. Looking at all that, I am playing GM here, but I would rather cut him and save $19 million than go through all that trouble and create cap hits in the future. That's me, because he was kind of declining anyways, but if he has a better offensive line or a better run game, he can play better. So I'm not trying to sit here and say he can't play anymore, but if it was up to me, usually in these videos it is, but they said he's going to be back already, so it'd be a waste of time for me to make a scenario without him there. So that number that we cleared, 14.34, that is the very maximum I came up with that they can clear by creating void years, basically, the maximum amount they can create. So honestly, chances are the number will probably be lower than that because that is the very max. This is pretty funny too. I was talking about it not too long ago on Twitter. Potential void year restructures, which void restructures are very rare, I'd say. This is a unique season. And one person out there on Twitter decided to argue with me that specifically for their team, the Steelers, it's never going to happen. Not going to happen. Why would you even do this? And here we are, where Ben Roethlisberger, not only the Steelers are going to do it perhaps, but they're going to be the first team to actually do it. So that's getting me a little excited. It's cracking me up a bit. But, they can clear a lot of money doing that. But, again, that's the max. Stephon Tuitt, they can clear a little bit, restructuring, pushing the money back, 3.97. They already did it with Cam Hayward. I actually predicted that exact number that happened on Twitter with Cam Hayward. So, if you're not following us on Twitter, I don't know what you're doing there. So, we cleared 29 0.21. We have 29.21 million now, which still isn't a whole lot with these big re-signings. So now I went into the re-signing period, and this is my decision as being a GM. This might be best case scenario. I'm kind of giving them the benefit of the doubt a little bit here. Maybe there's some little cheaper contracts to stay with the Steelers. You basically have to decide between Bud Dupree and Juju Smith-Schuster. You might not be able to get either back, but if you're going to get one, it's going to be one. And I decided to go with Bud Dupree. Why? I think edge rush is a little more important. That's a small part of it. I think the defense with and without Bud Dupree was different. I thought there was a pretty big difference. Bud Dupree was so important to that defense, his ability to rush from inside and out. I think he, based on what I watched this year, I thought he created for the rest of his team. He actually got doubled when he was on the field. He got doubled more than TJ Watt did as well. So I thought he was very important, so I'm choosing him over Juju Smith-Schuster. They might not be able to get either back. And then, you got those receivers too. Claypool, love Claypool. Deontay Johnson, as long as he catches the ball, I like him. I compared him coming out of Toledo, kind of like a poor man Stephon Diggs. I like that comparison. Still, he's got to catch the ball. And then you got James Washington, of course. But, yeah, so we're letting Juju walk. It's kind of tough. Got to get Mike Hilton back. They love him in the slot. He's so important in this defense, covering from the slot and then blitzing. He's actually a pretty good blitzer from there as well. And then I honestly would love a whole offensive line revamp, but that, offensive line revamp, it takes time. It's not, not going to happen in one offseason. So you're going to have to bring somebody back. 'Cause you don't want to create too many holes that you just can't fill. So I'm with this because we already spent most of our money with Bud Dupree and Mike Hilton. I'm kind of banking on Alejandro Villanueva coming back pretty cheap, He's been declining, so he might not get too much of a market out there, but teams are always after these tackles, even if they're average, slightly above average. They're always after them, and overpay them, really. So kind of banking on a little cheaper to stay with the Steelers. And Tyson Alualu getting up there in age, but he played pretty damn well at nose tackle. Nose tackle is a pretty role to fill, pretty easy role to play, I think, shouldn't say easy, but in the Steelers defense. But you got to have a veteran guy like that, and he played very well for them last year. So that's what I'm bringing back. We're pretty much out of money. I'm banking on Dupree coming back for less. Hilton probably won't come back for less, so you got to pay him right. Villanueva coming back for less. Alualu being very cheap. So let me go to option one. Get a veteran corner like Patrick Peterson that would probably play for cheap here. So you're staying pretty even in terms of the talent level with Joe Hayden, but you're getting way less, going way down in money in my opinion. Peterson's not going to have that strong of a market, so he's going to end up going to a good defense like the Steelers like this for a little cheaper. Then Alex Mack, who's a longtime great center, is a free agent. We got a couple Falcons we're adding here, I guess. That would be a pretty big addition, in my opinion there. Adding a guy like Alex Mack is probably going to be a one-year deal, fairly cheap. Then they're going to need a running back, and then they'll like a veteran like Todd Gurley there. Maybe they're going to, they're going to get Snell involved. Maybe they get McFarland involved a little more. I like his speed. So Gurley won't handle an insane amount of carries, but they bring in a guy like that, could be ideal. Again, they won't be able to spend. This is kind of best case of what they could spend too. They won't be able to spend that much at all, in free agency, unfortunately. So you go into draft, you still could get better at right tackle and maybe a guard spot. Jalen Mayfield, I think, is a day one starter at either one. There, I like him a lot, so I think they will as well. So that he could be gone by the time they're on the clock, though. That's the tricky part. It's going to be close. So go Mayfield. You're going to need to add a tight end, Pat Freiermuth from Penn State. The big-time tight end, probably the second best in the class. You can probably add him in the second round and third round. Quinn Miners, who's Wisconsin Whitewater interior offensive lineman, played center, lit up the Senior Bowl. I think you play center or guard at a high level. He's probably not a day one starter for the Steelers, but you got Alex Mack, probably on a one-year deal. Honestly, he probably could start at guard. Dotson, I guess, is one for the future. So maybe he could see, he keeps the job there. But, I think it helps you in general now or the future with Miners there. We go on to option two. Familiar face coming back, Kelvin Beachum. Maybe he can play right tackle. Maybe it could perhaps be an upgrade. They do have Okafor, but could be an upgrade there. Potentially just a familiar face, bringing him back. They could upgrade at the tight end position within free agency. They're fine entering veterans here. whether they're fine or not, they kind of have to, because of the cap space situation, the veterans, it'll be cheaper. But, pairing Jared Cook, in that offense, he's still a weapon. You got to hang on to the ball. I think he had some crucial fumbles this year, but still a pretty good weapon, especially in the red zone. So I think they would like him on the cheaper option. And Bashaud Breeland, I think is a pretty good sleeper because I think he'll be a cheaper option corner as well. He had a very tough responsibility with the Chiefs, playing a lot of man coverage, outside slot. He loves to hit, can come up and tackle. I think Mike Tomlin will like him. I think he'll play very well in a Steelers scheme, so that could be a huge pickup for them, even though it won't really look like it price-wise probably. And then you go on the draft, so then you add your running back to the draft, Najee Harris, potentially the first running back taken from Alabama. I know Steelers fans would love to have him probably. Maybe some aren't happy about taking a running back in the first. Who knows? Landon Dickerson, which they may have to take in the first, but it's realistic to think they can get him in the second because he had a recent injury, so he could fall a little bit. So you're doubling up on the Alabama guys. Dickerson could start right away at center. He also could play guard at a high level. So this could be definitely a guy the Steelers are targeting here. And then I threw in a scenario here where they add a day 2 receiver, what they're known for. They lost Juju Smith-Schuster in this scenario, and they definitely could get him back. They may lose some other guys, though, but in this scenario, they lost him. So Ed De'Ami Brown from North Carolina here, a sleeper receiver, a sleeper day 2 receiver. I think people are kind of talking about him in the 3rd, 4th round already, so a little bit of a sleeper 3rd round guy, big playability. I think they'll like him, because they really value having multiple receivers there. So that could be a route they take. So a little bit of a messy situation the Steelers are in, but you see in this scenario, probably best case, I did get some key free agents back, and then we made some solid signings and some good draft picks here. So there is hope. It's just banking on so many things to happen for it to be a decent offseason like this, So there's not a lot of room. The good news is there's some room to be created to stay about the same, maybe lose a big guy or that, but there really isn't room to get better. That's kind of the tough part. That's why it's a little bit of a mess situation, but there's a little bit of hope here, and we know they're going to have a damn good defense. I didn't have J.J. Watt. Forgot to mention that. J.J. Watt's a possibility. They want to, the longer he's sitting available, as I'm talking right now, he's available. That means he's kind of waiting on a team to kind of clear space. That's what that tells me. So I originally thought a team like the Browns, but he could have already signed with the Browns, So that could increase the chances of the Steelers. I don't know if I would want that, having the Watt brothers together would be fantastic. J.J. Watt's a fantastic player still. And they would make it work. Mike Tomlin would make it work. It just, something would have to be adjusted in there because he doesn't really fit as a 3-4 edge rusher like his brother. Where he fits is where Stephon Tuitt played, and Stephon Tuitt outplayed J.J. Watt last year. And the opposite side of Stephon Tuitt is more of a D tackle in Cam Hayward. Could you play all three, those two and J.J. Watt? Sure, it would have to be on obvious passing downs, which the other downs, who's taking a snap reduction? Somebody's not going to be happy. So it's going to be weird. I don't know. So I'm not really sure it's a major addition if they get him, but I'm not really that excited, with that, if that's a signing. I think focus on what you need to focus on here. The front seven's going to be just fine. It's going to be just fine. That's going to do it, though. We're doing this for every single team. Did it for quite a few teams already. Have all kinds of offseason content on the channel, whether it's who teams should sign, some predictions, some draft coverage already on the channel. A lot more to come. We'll grade every single free agency signing, so can't wait for that. But that's going to do it. Please subscribe. Smash that like button. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.